Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome again to another live this morning. Hope you're having a great start to your day. Wait for a few folks to come on as usual and say hello. And Annette, you're the first one up this morning. Good morning to you, and hope you're having a great start to your day. Rosalinda and Claudette and Mike and Nativity, good morning, you guys. Thanks again, John, our friend from Elgin, Illinois. Rachel, first time I've seen that name, I think. Not Rachel, but you specifically. Rachel, good morning. Nick from our staff, Louise, Jerry, Wendy, good morning. Lorraine, British Columbia, and Marie. And Rachel, by the way, is from Malaysia. Well, good morning to you. Well, it's probably good afternoon or good evening, isn't it? Jane, Misra, and Keith, good morning to you. Susan, Dawn, thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate it. Jeanette and Jerry, we're still cheering for those Habs. Hey, Jerry, Hazel from Newfoundland, St. John's, beautiful St. John's, Newfoundland. Darlene, Chantal, good morning to you. Chantal, Darlene, and Marie-Claire, and Diane, Jeanette from our staff, Judy, good morning to you. Norma, and Donna, and our dear friend, Dr. McEwen. How are you, Doc? Yolande, bonjour. Carol Ann, good morning. Evelyn and Regine, bon matin. Sherry, Jackie from Tirana, and Elsie, good morning. Natalie. Okay, a couple more and let's get going. Sherry, baby. Donna, another Donna. Lise, good morning, Lise. How are you? And Diane, Sherry. Okay. I want you to become a sugar detective. Be a sugar detective. How do you like that? You don't want to come to the grocery store with me because I'm always reading labels. And what am I looking for? Sugar, baby, sugar. Added sugars. And I want you guys to become sugar detectives. Watch out for these hidden sugars. They're all over the place, okay? They're all over the place. And I think it's important that you and I become experts in that. And I love to teach how you can become a sugar detective. Now, I know most of you really watch your labels. If the food industry had its choice, folks, I'm telling you, they would put nothing on their label other than this is cereal and enjoy. This is bread, enjoy. They don't like putting their ingredients there because people that become sugar detectives realize how much sugar is added to foods. And I just want to go over some of that, so when you take a label, okay? When you take a label, really only two things. Don't look at calories, don't look at protein, don't look at anything. If it's got protein, good for that. Look for sugars, added sugars. They have to put that on the label in Canada and the United States. The FDA years ago made them do that. Now, we've talked about this, and this is in my book, The Reset. They hide the names of sugars. I think we came up with 92 names. Okay. And by and large, that the sugars that the food industry uses are high fructose corn syrup. It's cheap. It's sweet. It's addictive. And, I was listening to the news yesterday, and they said that I don't know if it was the Supreme Court or whatever, but they held some pharmacies responsible for opioid abuse. I think it was Walgreens, CVS, even Walmart pharmacies, I think, if my memory serves me right. They held them to account because they were not restricting opioids. But I'll tell you something, guys. What destroys more lives, destroys people's health. I'm going to make a statement here, and I'm convinced I'm right. Let me just make a statement about sugar. If members of your family, if, anyone that's on any med or meds, if they would just cut sugar out of their diet, I believe within a week or two, just cut sugar out, they'd be able to come off some medications. 1 or 2 medications in a week or 2 weeks. That is how dramatic. Guys, sugar is extremely toxic. Okay? Now, if you're my age, unless a doctor puts you on an opioid for severe pain or after a car accident or whatever, you don't even know what that is. But sugar's everywhere. And it's every bit as addictive because it's not natural. We think, sugar comes from a plant. Yeah, but high fructose corn syrup comes from a vat. It's industrialized. And the food industry have hidden it. By and large, they don't talk about it. Doctors are not trained to think about it. Even in diabetes today, still, here we are in 2021, going on 2022, and doctors generally don't talk about sugar. Just getting off of it, restricting it, would be one of the greatest advancements in medicine. But it will never, I don't think at least, certainly not in my lifetime, will ever become part of medicine. The food industry is too big. Big pharma is too big. They want to manage disease. Oh, you can have sugar. You're not a diabetic. Or if you're a diabetic, moderate sugar. It's completely, guys, upside down. And I'm proud of you that who have become, I should almost give you a badge. My name is Tony, and I'm a sugar detective. I'm going to give you a badge if you are a sugar detective. Now, look what I brought from the grocery store. A loaf of bread. To show you. Okay? to show you. Hidden. Now, this one isn't so bad, okay, in terms of the amount of hidden sugars in there. Okay? But if you read the label, they still put sugar in there. They've added sugar. And this one here is 2 grams. 2 grams. Okay, so not quite a teaspoon in a slice. But, sugar detectives, Sugar Detective Course 101 shows you what? This is whole wheat. Okay? And in one slice, there's 12 grams of carbohydrates. So you have a sandwich, you got 24 grams of carbohydrates. Those carbs in here are going to be sugar in a nanosecond. They're going to be sugar in a nanosecond. So when you read a label, added sugars, okay? Look first for that. They've added sugar. From ketchup to bread, you can imagine cookies, but look for added sugars, one, and then carbohydrates. Okay? So one slice here is 12. You know? Kid has 2. You got 24 grams of carbohydrates, 4 grams of sugars added, which isn't that high for bread, because usually they're higher than that. But so you got 28 grams of sugar here. 1 gram, okay? 1 gram of sugar is 4 grams of sugar, is a teaspoon. You got 28. Okay? So what do you have? Unless I'm crazy in my math, you got 7 teaspoons of sugar, sugar detectives. 7 teaspoons. That's a lot of sugar, isn't it? Think about that. Think of how crazy your pancreas has to manipulate that food, because you're squirting insulin. You can't have sugar in your bloodstream. It will not allow it to park there. No parking. Okay? That's what insulin says to sugar. No parking. You can't park there. We don't allow parking in your bloodstream. Your pancreas, that's its major job. Not to allow parking in the bloodstream. I'm going to take you, sugar. Now you got 7 teaspoons. If you were to empty your 5 liters of blood, on average, you would have less than a teaspoon of sugar on any given time. So you see the job your pancreas has to do? Guys, this is Detective School, Sugar Detective School 101. If you understand that, don't fool yourself. Other people can fool themselves. They're deceived by foods because they've never been taught to read a label. They've never been taught what their pancreas does. They've never been taught that sugar is so toxic. It is so toxic. It's worse than an opioid, or as bad. Your body can't allow sugar to stay in its bloodstream. It just can't. And you don't wait till you're a diabetic. You don't wait till you're a diabetic. You can fix diabetes by understanding and by being a sugar detective. God, I'm really liking that term. Be a sugar detective. And when you add carbohydrates, okay? Guys, you don't even have to get into fruits and vegetables, okay? Don't go there. You don't have to. You don't have to be a sugar detective for fruits and vegetables, okay? God gave you his candies. You can have them. Don't live on them, especially if you're in that 88% of metabolic unwellness, 88%. To our dear friend from Malaysia, I am speaking about North Americans, Canadians and Americans. 88% of the population have trouble with insulin. So when I say metabolically unwell, they just do not do well. They have what we call insulin resistance, and they got trouble. And insulin resistance leads to cancer. It leads to cardiovascular disease, the biggest killers in society today. It leads to Alzheimer's. And of course, diabetes. Of course. So it's really important, isn't it, to look at foods, look at the carbohydrates, and you know what? Don't get fooled by, you see, in some ketos, okay, keto foods, they allow you, a lot of that stuff is not good for you, okay? Because even though it's low in sugars and not really high in carbohydrates, it's not, there's no nutrition in it. I'm big on nutrition. Foods that matter. Your body will thrive with foods that matter to it. Not made by man. They're God-made. You got it? Foods that matter. People don't get sick with foods that matter. They really don't. Stick to the two kingdoms. The animal kingdom and the plant kingdom. You stick in there, you'll be all right. Now, the reset, of course, is strictly the animal kingdom for 30 days. Try it and thrive. I just cannot encourage you enough. I was reading an article yesterday on hormones and how, I made a couple of notes because they were talking about hormones, hormone imbalance. This was the article in one of the journals that I read. If you have fatigue, headaches, digestive issues, insomnia, easy weight gain, signs of aging prematurely, depression, anxiety, libido, 9. Okay? And then here's what the article said. You might have a hormonal imbalance. Yep. Now remember my teaching. Guys, you get this? You get this? You're ahead of 99% of the doctors I know. Okay? I'm going to do it again because I can't help myself. I am going to draw, and I should never draw anything, okay? Because I'm terrible in art. But I'm doing it for you, okay? So that, see, now on the podcast, of course, you'll not see this, but live, you're seeing it. See that pyramid? Okay? See why I flunked art? There's a pyramid. But the reason I do that is because I'm going to show you hormone imbalances, okay? Now, I'm going to put some circles. 1, 2, 3, 4 circles, 5 circles, 6 circles. Okay? I put 6 circles right in here. See them? Okay, so if you're on live Facebook, you see them. When you understand this, you understand hormonal imbalances. Because hormones are all connected. On the top of the pyramid is your thyroid. Halfway down to here are your adrenal glands, adrenal, on top of kidneys. Then you have your ovaries here, okay? And men, testes, but ovaries, estrogen, progesterone. In men, testosterone, okay? The testes. Got it? Okay, that's all you got to know. Because if you can figure this out, you figure this pyramid out, you got it. Because the one that's the key is the one in the middle. What is the one in the middle? Okay? That's your pancreas. It releases a hormone called insulin, and it only happens when you eat. And that little baby in there, that insulin, is the key. It's the key to your health, to hormonal imbalances. Oh, Dr. Martin, I got thyroid problems. My hair is falling out. My skin is dry. I gain weight. I just look at food and I gain weight. I don't even have to look at it. I don't have to eat it. I gain weight. It's your thyroid. But remember, your thyroid doesn't act independently. Connected to the ovaries, connected to your adrenals. And the biggest one it's connected to is in the middle of that pyramid. It is your pancreas. 20, 30, more than that, 1,000 women have discovered that when they eat right, when they get off, they become a sugar detective. And they get off the sugars and the carbs coming from, I call it man-made food. You see, this loaf of bread here, that's man-made. You didn't make that. Food company made that. There's not enough nutrition in here to feed a mouse. But boy, oh boy, will it mess up your hormones. It'll mess them up big time. So this is why I always try and get people to understand where I come from. If you understand that, you can't control everything in your life, but you can sure become educated. You see, one of the biggest things, and I found this over the years, and even in the 70s when I was in school, one of the things that medicine is good at is ignorance. They don't want you questioning them. Okay? They're great at it. Like, look, look, you get hit by a bus. You don't want my advice. You really don't. You want to get to an emergency department and see an emergency physician. Okay? So please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Okay? Doctors, God love them. Okay? And I mean that. Medical doctors, God love them. But there's a huge hole in their training. It's a huge hole. You can drive a transport through that hole. And that is food. And they created dietitians to do the job of a physician. And the problem is, the dietitians, and God love them too, okay, please, God love them too. The whole medical training is influenced by big pharma and the food industry. That's why you'll get a dietitian saying, when they make up a pyramid of food, they got whole wheat at the base of that pyramid. Whole wheat. Have bread. And what they have at the top of the pyramid, not meaning the best, meaning very little, don't eat too many eggs and meat and cheese. Because that's going to give you cholesterol. They want you to whole grains, and they got fruits and vegetables in there, and that's all right too. But you know what I'm saying? It's training. They're not talking to you about the pyramid that I like to talk to you about. The one with your hormones in it. And insulin. You need to be a sugar detective. It's the start. It's the start. Understand how rapidly carbohydrates become sugars. It happens so quick because there's I'm sticking up the loaf of bread again. There's no nutrients in here. So this is starch. It's going to be sugar rapidly. Rapidly. It puts an enormous pressure on your pancreas to release insulin. And insulin, eventually, and even in kids, the body becomes resistant to insulin. And when resistance to insulin occurs at the cellular level, there's a metabolic change that occurs. And the human body, even though it's fearfully and wonderfully made, starts to go downhill. We have a tragedy in our society today that hardly talks about this. We've been hoodwinked, guys. We've been hoodwinked by the pharmaceutical industry, marketing, the food industry, the cereal companies, marketing to our kids and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. They're doing you got to give them kudos. They're good at it. And they influence. They go after politicians with all the people that, surround politicians. And we've created a disaster in our society today. Because people don't understand, they're ignorant. And they're told not to question. Don't question authority. Don't question your physician. I always used to tell my patients, when you're going to your family doctor or to see a specialist, bring a notepad. Ask questions. It's your body. You have every right to do it. Ask for certain blood tests. Ask. You know the commercials in the United States? And I always get a kick out of it. Ask your doctor if this drug is right for me. Ask your doctor. What do you mean? Ask your doctor if this drug is right for me. Doesn't your doctor know? Ask your doctor. But you see, the pharmaceutical industry, they're smart. They know how to market. Right? So you got diabetes, go ask your doctor. Maybe you should switch your meds and take this one. Instead of, Doc, is there any diet that can put my diabetes to sleep? Doc, I got high blood pressure. I know you want to give me a med, and that's all right. But is there any way that I can reverse this? Those are good questions, aren't they? So, put your hand up. Who wants to be a sugar detective? Read your labels. Read your labels. Now, there's a lot of other stuff. You can read the bottom. Here I'm looking at the label, and what else they put in this? Okay, bleached, enriched flour. See, if you read that, the flour is enriched. What do? They add these vitamins that never are going to help your health. They're synthetic, not natural. They're synthetic. I've told you the story before, but I'll just repeat it here, and I'll close up with this morning. The first fast food ever created wasn't McDonald's or whatever. It was the bread companies. They went from, rollers, or they went to porcelain rollers instead of the old pounding the wheat. Stone ground. When it was stone ground, bread was actually half decent, good for you. A lot of vitamins. Lots of protein. But when they started the porcelain rollers to make fast bread, and it was so devoid of nutrition that by the 1930s, that happened in 1890, that's where it started. But by the 1930s, you know what they were doing with bread? They were enriching the flour. They had to. There was nothing in it. And there's still nothing in it except crappy carbs and sugars. I don't care if it's got 27 grains of grains. Whole wheat with, 20 grains. Who cares how many grains are in there? What's that got to do with your blood sugar? Be a sugar detective. Okay. I like to get, obviously, I want you to think, guys. I do. I want you to be proactive. I want you to take care of yourself. You can't take care of anyone else unless you take care of yourself. Start with you. And, you can bring a horse to water. They might not drink it, but it doesn't matter. Okay? Don't get too frustrated. Don't get too frustrated. Your family won't, you're never a prophet in your hometown. That's what Jesus said. Okay? And you know what? Like people, even in my family, they look at me like I got two heads. Who are you? But Preach it, baby. Preach it. Live it. You live it. And preach it. You'll be surprised. You'll influence some people. I'm really big on kids, educating kids, because kids are smart. If you can teach them one thing, sugar, not so good for you. They get that. They get that. Now, they get the memo, what they do with it. But a lot of kids, they found out, ADD and I could not focus, and I'm depressed, and I got this and I got that. And then they buy it, and they change their diets, and it's amazing what happens. It's amazing what happens. Okay, I told you I'd close with that. Okay, tomorrow, it'll be on the private Facebook group too, and we'll make an announcement. Not on tomorrow, okay? I'm competing tomorrow for a fundraiser. Okay. Friday question and answer. Okay. Now, our Black Friday sale is still on. What's that mean? Well, you can get the book, The Reset, discounted. Okay? Discounted. Isn't that a great idea for Christmas? Christmas gifts? Educate, educate, educate. Okay. Guys, we love you, and we'll talk to you soon.